Hey everyone, welcome to Creating Your Heaven on Earth. I am your host, Denise Anderson, and I'm thrilled that you're joining me today for this episode. Today, I want to dive into this dynamic that happens that we all become entangled in, and that is the idea of comparing ourselves to others, which is a constant thing we do. I know social media has really brought this to the fore. Watching people, what they're doing, you're either feel like you're doing better than someone else, you feel like you're doing worse than someone else. So we're constantly berating ourselves or trying to build ourselves up to feel like we're doing better than somebody else or that we're actually better than someone else. So this whole idea of comparing, there's just this constant sway between the two. And what usually arises and what causes this is our own inner critic. So it's the thoughts that we have inside of our own head about how we feel about ourselves. So obviously, when we're not in a very good state, we're belittling ourselves. So the thoughts, they sound something like, I'm not good enough. Who am I to do something like that? I'm not as pretty as she is. I'm not as successful as he is. I'm not as successful as she is. I don't have the same talent. Why would people look at me that way? How could I have that thing that that person has? It's this constant thought in our mind that leads us down this path. So what we want to be able to do is be able to watch the thoughts in your mind. I call it being the witness. You want to be able to pull yourself away from the thought and watch what are the thoughts that are appearing in your mind, right? And then when that thought is there, you can also watch the action that happens from that thought. So you're not feeling good enough. You can do both of the things as project yourself as inferior to someone because you're not feeling good enough, or a way that you use somebody else to try to bring yourself up is to portray yourself as superior or better than them. Again, it's just a way to try to quiet that inner critic. So, what we want to do is come up with ways that are much more compassionate for ourselves and for others to kind of slay that inner dragon, right? Get that hamster off the wheel that's going around and around in our minds. And perhaps you're at a place in your life where the same patterns are occurring, the same thoughts. And I like to say it's like that hamster in a wheel, right? It's going around and around and around. And unless you decide to stop and get off the wheel, the hamster keeps going. What do they say? How does that quote go? The idea of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results, right? If you continue doing the same things and getting caught up in the patterns and conditioning that you have, you're going to continue creating the exact same results. Now, there's obviously a lot of science to it, the neurotransmitters in our brain. So, a watered down version is if you imagine the brain waves. So there's already pathways carved out in your brain as to how to do something, how to perceive something, how to see something. So you're already hardwired. You're already hardwired to see things a certain way. So what we want to do is create new pathways in the mind that will help you to see things differently, make it easier to do things differently, and that just broaden out your vision of the world and who you are in this world. not in comparison to somebody else, right? So what I want you to become aware of, and I think you're catching on if you've listened to a couple of the other podcasts that I have, the other episodes, there's a heavy dose of raising your awareness and your consciousness. You know, I once I once worked with a mentor, and his statement to me was, consciousness is everything. How conscious you are in your life does determine the things you do, the actions you take or don't, the things you think, and ultimately how your life will unfold. It is determined by your level of consciousness. And I remember this, and I didn't take that lightly. So I've been on a journey of, how does one raise their consciousness and awareness so that we can become a more aware of what is. So the first step is really to become aware of what is it that you're thinking. What are the constant thoughts that are appearing? Without the awareness, it's hard to change that, right? It's like, oh, this is something that I share with my clients, is to say, when you notice that, so let's say you notice a reoccurring thought and or a reoccurring pattern in your life, and you're witnessing, right? So you come out and you're aware of that. In order to have that awareness without self-judgment or self-hatred, is to say, isn't that interesting? Oh, isn't that interesting? That's what I do. Huh. There it is again. Look at that. I did that again. Now, this is not to negate responsibility or consequences for your action, but berating yourself and beating up on yourself isn't going to help you get out of that pattern. So, where we want to begin is just noticing what are the thoughts that are appearing. And sometimes what can happen before you notice the thoughts is you can become aware, where are you comparing yourself to others? Again, either in an inferior way or a superior way. And perhaps you have a person in your life where there's times where you oscillate. There's times you feel inferior to this person, and there's times you feel superior. And I know I've done this in a relationship in my life. I have a friend, and I mean, this man is so smart. He's just got a very intelligent mind. And of course, he has his gifts and his certain talents in the world that he does, and they are the complete opposite of mine. Like we are I've never met anybody more opposite than I. And what I notice is I can take something that he is doing that is the opposite of me, and I can take that same thing and feel inferior to him because he has this unique ability to do these things with his mind, and I can go, "Oh my god, like, God, I'm so stupid, like, my intelligent level is not at that level where he is," which then gets me spiraling that I can't, that I don't measure up in any other area of my life. So it makes it harder for me to embody the gifts and talents that I do have when I'm busy making myself inferior to an amazing talent that somebody has that I don't fully embody myself. So it's been a great learning thing for me. And then I was able to take that and see, where else in my life do I do that? Because it's not serving me and it's not serving others as well. And the other thing, it's okay to call yourself out. That is what, for me, growing in awareness and consciousness is all about. Call yourself out. Call Be able to say, this is what I do. I do it all the time. And I know from experience it can be extremely daunting. It's like, is that how I was talking to that person? Is that the energy that I was projecting out into the world, that I am so much better than you? just because I've had this experience, I've gained this wisdom in my life, I'm able to do these certain things. And it's only the times that I'm not feeling secure about myself that I would ever do that. So it's like a self-examination, right? It's doing inner surgery on yourself. And I know I mentioned in a previous podcast, there's just times in our lives where we need to eat a piece of humble pie. It's hard to be humble, but the more you do it, and again, I would really encourage you to do it from a place of self-love. It's like, oh, isn't that interesting? That's what I do. And of course, you always have the option. Once you recognize that you've done that, you can always go to that person and say, God, the other day when I, said this, I recognized that I wasn't feeling very good about myself. And that is why I said that. And I'm sincerely sorry that I did that. It's one way that we can make amends in our relationship. And again, this isn't advice. I'm not saying that you should do this with everyone in your life. Um, a big part of what I do with my clients is help them to get in touch with their own intuition and their own inner knowing if that is the right thing for them to do in any given relationship. So, one thing I do not do is give advice because I don't know your situation. I don't know the dynamics of your relationship. But what I do know is you have an innate ability within yourself to know what is right and what is true for you, what is right and true for your path, what is right and true for your destiny, your dharma, all of that stuff that is part of our human experience. I know that you're the one that knows. And so, what I'm really passionate about is helping people to uncover that ability to do that, right? Whether it's a gut feeling, a knowing, a sensation. There's all these ways in which spirit, the universe, is talking to you to help you be on the path that is currently headed in your highest possibility, that is for your greatest outcome. One thing I want you to keep in mind, especially when those around you might have something to say about what you're doing and how you're putting yourself out into the world, is, well, that's interesting. I completely forgot. That's good. What was I going to say about that? One thing to do when people have that, da, 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 develop your intuition. Don't know. So there must be a new thought that wants to be shared because something is coming to me, but it's not what I was going to share. So, great example. Here we go. This is how it works, right? So I'm just totally trusting what's coming to me to share because I've done it so many times, right? With public speaking, writing a book, doing live videos. I'm trusting that what comes to me to share through me, that's what I share. And so it's not about the mind. It's not about, well, what would make sense. I use so much of my own intuition as to what needs to be shared. So the skill is, it's like a muscle, right? It's like a muscle. And every time you trust your gut feeling or a sense, right, you will come to know, how do you know uniquely what is right for you? What needs to be shared? How do you get that sense? So for me, a big part of it is a gut feeling. It's like a sensation in my body. It's like, this feels right, and this feels completely off. Okay? So that's part number 1. So we want to get in tune with our intuition and our ability to know things on a non-intellectual level. The second thing is, and I believe this is more difficult, I mean, it certainly was for me, is then following through with that. So there's something in you going, don't go down that path. Don't do that thing. Don't say that thing. But you say it anyway, right? Because we're going off of being triggered or whatever. So there's just something in you that knows, I shouldn't say that. Like, don't do that thing. But because we're either programmed that, we're so conditioned to go down, we do it anyway. So a lot of times when your intuition is speaking to you and you're on this path of like evolution and growth, and we're growing into our highest possibility, you are going to need to go against the way that you used to do things. So what you end up doing is second guessing your instincts, second guessing your intuition and that gut feeling, because that's not what I used to do. I mean, I've always done that. That's the way I would handle that situation. But something in you now is saying, no, no, let's do it a different way. Here's a different way that you could do it. And you're actually showing a different way. And you can see it. Maybe it's like you can see it through your third eye. You have a vision of it. You get a sense, you get a thought, you get words, however it comes to you. But it's like, well, that's weird. That doesn't even make sense to do that. I don't even know why I would do it that way. And that's a lot of times how this unfolds in your life. So what I would encourage you to do is a couple of things. Develop that muscle, right? Develop your intuition and your sense of knowing. And second of all, be brave and courageous enough to follow it. Because if that is what your instinct is saying to you, and again, there's other ways that we could talk about this, right? Some say it's God speaking to them, it's spirit, it's the universe. They got this download, this insight, this aha moment, the light bulb, whatever it is for you, and however you want to say that that happens for you. I totally honor and love that. Again, I'm not here to preach. I'm not about a certain dogma or one path. 7.4 billion people on the planet. There's a lot of different ways that this is going to show up. So, can you honor in you the way that it shows up for you? And then, can you trust that and see what is on the other side of trusting that instinct or that gut, right? You get a hit. Oh, something just came to me to call this friend. Call her. Denise, this is crazy. I was just thinking about you. I was going to, I have this thing that I want to talk to you about. It's like something in me knew to make that call. Driving in my vehicle. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not good with directions. I'm always getting lost. I never remember where I parked my car in the parking lot. So when I remember that, that's a miracle. But so I when I'm driving, I was driving in a city and was lost. I wasn't exactly sure what direction to go. And I fell into just trust your instinct. And it was like I knew where I needed to turn to get to my destination. So that was a wild experience for me. I totally just surrendered and said, okay. And I had a sense and a knowing of where to go. It wasn't a logical idea of like I'm following Google Maps, right? That's logical. It's like I'm following the blue line. I can do that. But this, I didn't have access to my phone, and I just followed my instincts, and I knew how to get to where I am. So, today's message is about you're always being spoken to. You have divine guidance. There is a guide. You have spirit, angels, whatever form it takes for you. You always have a higher intelligence speaking to you. That it's in you, it's a part of you. You're a part of it. You're not separate from it. But when we can tap into this higher intelligence, God damn, that's when magic happens. That's when miracles are unfolding. It's actually an amazing process. It's a neat process to watch. And it's not so hard. Yes, we have to do challenging things, but when you tap into that higher intelligence, that higher knowing, and you trust it, boom, bam, magic, miracles, heaven on earth, which is my greatest desire and my hope for you. So I'm going to end it there today. Again, I hope you can if you like this episode, need some likes, some shares, share it with your family and friends. Let's get the message out there for anybody who you feel is on this path of wanting to create heaven on earth. I would truly appreciate any and all support that you can give me to grow my platform. So If you are interested in having a consultation with me to see if we are fit to create heaven on earth, I know you're ready. I know you're excited about this. I can feel passion in some of you listening to this right now, getting all jacked up on your Mountain Dew and your excited sauce about what is possible for your life. Please reach out. Let's get together. I'm going to offer you a free consultation. The link is in my bio. Please reach out and let's start creating your heaven on earth.